You shit-kicking, stinky horse smelling motherfucker.
He was a tough guy. He was a street guy. He was an old gangster, old school mob dude for real. Like the Costa Nostra Mafia, that was his world. He came up as the driver of the original Godfather of Detroit, Vito Giacalone. Vito Tocco, William Vito, Black Bill Tocco. His first cousin, Uno Zarelli Tocco, and him kind of founded the Detroit mob back in the 30s, 40s, whatever. And these are like two godfathers, man. And so Tony Jack was his driver, his bodyguard. They believe he was responsible for like up to 50 or 60 murders. So to give you an idea, the guy's real badass. I don't know none of this though. I just know that he was like a tough old uncle of mine. You know what I'm saying? Taught me how to play poker, taught me how to play three dice. I had heard from my uncle Pete that, he had bodies and he was a hitter and he's a freaking, he was a street boss. And, you got to talk to him a certain way and address him a certain way. But I was always a ball buster and he liked it. Like most people like see Tony Jack and they just kiss his ring and like, I was scared of him. I would bust his balls all the time. He used to make fun of me that working out. And he'd be like, oh, that freaking working out, that's for pussies. He's like, you got to do hard work to get tough. I'm like, Tony, you can't whip my ass. What are you talking about? And he'd be like, and then he'd be like, well, I got a gun. I'm like, I got a gun too. So I guess it comes down to who draws quicker and who's the best shot now, doesn't it? He started laughing. You're talking to the guy who's a killer, the guy who's a freaking mob
50 bodies on him.
50 bodies on him. And I'm joking with him like, yeah, well, let's see who's got the fastest draw. You know what I'm saying? I said that to the underboss in front of Tony Jack one time, who was yelling at me for extorting somebody who was already under the protection of one of his guys that were extorting the same person. And he said, Lonzo, you can't beat everybody with these. One of these days, someone comes with these. And I said, well, if somebody comes with this, I said, I got this too. And I'm a good freaking shot. So what I'm going to do is get that mother effer, and then I'm going to go for the one who sent them. So around that time, when I got out of jail, I was 19 years old. Because when I got busted with steroids, I was 17. It took about 18 months to convict me. And then I did the 97 days. And I got out, I was like 19, maybe even 20. And around that time, Tony Jack, he recently got out of prison, but anyways, years before, but like he was kind of hitting the streets hard. And anyways, my uncle kind of said to him, you want to put him to work. In fact, my grandpa said, if you want to put him to work, and there was some conversation about what they wanted to do with me. It was at my cousin Nina Mizaraka's graduation party. And then my grandpa must have gave him my beeper number or whatever. And I called him. He called me one day and said, I got this cousin. I got a nephew who's getting bothered down here in Grosse Pointe, come handle it. So I went and punked out all these kids who apparently knew who I was. I didn't even think they would, but I was ready to smash them because they were picking on my cousin. And then after I did that, a couple weeks later, he calls me like 7:00 in the morning. He says, man, I need something. I need a favor. Or he said, I need you to handle something. So what's that, Tony? It's 7:00 in the morning. And he's like, he didn't say it was his girlfriend. I'm assuming it's his girlfriend. Still to this day, but I have family might, someday maybe hear this. I don't want him to think that I'm saying it was a girl who was a friend. He said her ex came home drunk last night, slapped her around, and the kid. He said, kids.
Damn.
He said, can you handle that? He didn't say to do what or nothing. I said, of course, give me the address. I'll handle that. So he's giving me the address. I called my boy, my workout partner, another Italian kid named Dario. And I said, let's go. We went over to the house, and I went up in this house. The guy was passed out, and I just smashed him. I had this big gold nugget ring on, and I pulverized the dude. I said, you like to beat women? And that's something that doesn't fly with Sicilians, man. Beating women, hitting women, it just doesn't happen. It don't. I've on multiple occasions in my lifetime, I've been tasked with beating guys who assaulted their own wives or disrespected women in certain ways. And I don't really like. One time it was for one of my friends I liked. I still had to do it. Another time it was for a cousin. They ended up stabbing him in the throat with a broken bottle. Another time I was tasked with setting a guy up to be killed over beating his wife, but luckily fate intervened and they killed him later on. I didn't have nothing to do with it. But at the time I was about to walk him to his death, a cop pulled up and then I had a warrant. So, and I paid the warrant on the spot. It was a DNR officer. It's a long story, but anyways, I paid it, but there's a record of me being there now because I was going to walk back there and have the dude killed. And then, the record of me.
So you got an alibi.
Well, yeah, the alibi would have been, well, no, if they would have found the body, they would have traced back the investigation that I had been there around the time the dude had been killed to pay this thing. And they two and two together. They would have looked at my record. They would have been like, all right, this guy's a suspect. So I called it off. But another time, like I said, when it was my friend, his name is Tino, good dude. He freaking, he wasn't really that, he took a girl out whose father was a mob guy. And he didn't really like her. She's kind of a bitch, whatever. But the guy didn't like that he was running numbers and running a sports book in a factory that the mob guy had been doing for years. So he came to me and said, "Tell your boy to knock it off, man. That's my factory. You know, you can't come in there scabbing my betters or whatever." And I told him, "Tino, what are you doing, man? Knock it off. This guy's freaking, that's his factory. It's just, you know, whatever." And he's like, F him, he's an old man, blah, blah, blah. And then he disrespected the daughter. And then they came to me and said, "Listen, now you got to freaking, I want you to freaking, I'm gonna give you $3,000 to do this. I want you to beat him up right in front of me, real bad." And I thought, well, I could not do it and let somebody else do it, and they might hurt him really bad. Or I could do it myself and kind of control how bad the beating is, you know what I'm saying? Which I did. So I smashed him, one good one, bloodied him up, and started beating him up in this like pool hall in front of the old man, and like made it look real bad, but it really wasn't that bad. And I called him that couple days later, I said, "How you feeling?" And he's like, "Sore." I'm like, "Yeah, you know." He's like, "I warned you." And he's like, yeah, no. I said, "You know why I did that, right?" And he's like, "Nah." I said, "Because I could control the beating. I can control the damage. If they would have got somebody else, they would have put you in the hospital for a month, man. So, I mean, I just made it look good." And he's like, "Yeah, no, blah, blah, blah." We were never friends after that, really. I don't blame him. So around that time is when I kind of turned this corner. And that's when Tony Jack, the old man, started using me for things. He says, "Yes, I want you to work security at this poker game." And they got me a job bouncing at this really high-end nightclub called Brownies on the Lake, a real high-end place, Richie area, all high rollers, all mob hangout. And I became the head of security there. So I'm like 19 years old. I was 19 years old. So I wasn't 20 yet, because I remember I just got out of jail. I was 19 years old. And I'm in this place, and this high rollers, put it like this. You pull up your boat and valet park it on the docks, and there's a big lagoon with a big, huge 4,000 square foot deck, multi-level deck that wraps around the lagoon. And you pull in, all the high rollers pull in with their $1 million boats and valet park them at the lagoon and get out and have drinks. Real nice place. And I'm getting to know all these freaking mob dudes coming in here all the time, and high rollers and all these people, and not a whole lot of fighting going on, a few fights here and there, but I met a bunch of celebrities in there too. They start having me do all this dirty work, working security. And eventually it's like, "Listen, this guy is not paying his mark. Like a bookie, they call him a square. He's not paying up. He owes the bookie, blah, blah, blah. So you need, go give him a tune up, man. Tell him Tony said, pay up, whatever." And then I got really good at finding guys who didn't want to be found, who were running from paying bookies and loan sharks. And so I'd find them and usually not beat them up, nothing like that. I'd just be like, "Listen, you got to pay, man. Let's go figure it out. Let's, if you got to sell that boat or that four-wheeler, that dirt bike or a motorcycle, cash in your 401k, go to your aunt, whatever you got to do, you got to pay now, today. We're going to find the money, because I wouldn't get paid unless I got the money." So I'm like, "You're not leaving my side till we get the money."
Yeah,
and we'd figure it out, get the money, and I go bring it back and get a piece. And that was not fun work for me, and I never made a bunch of money, but I ingratiated myself to some of these old mob guys who liked me. And believe me, when I started getting around that age, in my early 20s, dude, I had a lot of juice on the street, because everybody in that world kind of knew I was Tony Giacaloni's pit bull. And they called him Pt.2, means crazy gunner. And they're like, "That's Tony's pit bull, man. He freaking, anybody, acts a fool, he sends Alonzo at him." And, all it took was a couple of times to walk up to guys at the Hazel Park racetrack who owed money. That's where the gambling degenerates all hang out. So all the loan sharks hang out, all the bookies hang out. And a guy who owed money, I just walk up and just be like, "Hey, man, Tony says, pay him." I just knock him out in front of everybody. Bam, blow this guy's face.
So you were that dude that everyone was like, "Bro, you better watch out. That dude's knocking shit out."
Yeah, after I did it a few times, for sure. But after I did it a few times in front of everybody, when I'd show up, you could just hear the din of the cadence of the conversation chain. Now they'd see me and everybody talking, and all these motherfuckers
You're
like,
feared.
"Man, huh?"
You're feared at this point.
I think they've just worried that I'm coming for them, because all of them owed money. They all owed money. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They all owed somebody. And so
they had a reason to be scared.
Yeah. I mean, but so what it was, I was kind of a contract enforcer, meaning if here's what would happen. If a bookie was having a problem with a square, he might go to his layoff bookie. His layoff bookie's kind of a guy above him. And tell that guy. And that layoff bookie might call Tony and say, listen, one of my guys, he got 20 in chips down. The guy's a month behind. He haven't heard nothing from him. And Tony would call me and say, okay, because Tony would go, okay, give me his address, his number, his phone number, everything. And Tony would call me. He said, meet me at the club, the athletic club. And we go out and walk in the parking lot. He says, here's a piece of paper. And he said, and it's coded. And here's his name. This is where he lives, yada, yada. He said, go find him and let him know it's time to pay. So then I'd go do that. And sometimes I might go to the track. Sometimes I might go to his girlfriend's house. Sometimes I might go to wherever. And I got good at that. So a lot of these old mob guys kind of learned to respect me. And, you know, I was nobody in particular special. But one thing I had going for me in terms of juice was that two things. One, I was notoriously violent, but not as bad as everybody said. I think it was more reputation than anything, because I really wasn't beating people up, smashing. I mean, I was smashing guys in nightclubs all the time. You know,
what made you in the beginning, man, have that thing with like the bullies? Because it sounds like that's where
I don't know
violence. You just didn't like them.
I just didn't like bullies, man. I'm telling you, I'm a bigger guy, but I was smaller when I was real little. I was kind of skinny, wiry kid, and all the older kids would try to pick on me, and I'd fight with them. I would go there, man. I'd go full out bull, freaking pound their face in. I'd be a little skinny, wiry kid, you know, in 5th grade trying to fight an 8th grader, you know, and whooping them, you know. So I was this guy. I was a guy, like I was a nightclub guy. There's a lot of nightclubs in the east side of Detroit. There's a bunch of clubs. And, you know, and we, you know, me and my boys would kind of do the circuit. Might go to the Lipsticks, Palladium, the Wrist,
club hopping.
Club hopping. You know, that's what we did all week, really. And, you know, especially in the summer when we could. You know, like I didn't have a schedule. I was a bum. You know what I'm saying? I didn't. I could
just like whatever. Let's ride.
Right, but you know, they'll stay at school during high school, then in college and some jobs after high school. But me, I mean, I could just do whatever, and that's how I stayed in the club. So here's the thing: you see a guy. You're a perfect example. Like I see a guy like you, right, in the nightclub. I've seen you around. I don't know your name, but I've seen you in the club a few times over the years, 2, 3, 5, 10 times, whatever. Normal sized dude, normal dude, right? You carry yourself normal. You're not out there flexing and acting like you're a tough guy in the club. You're just there to have a beer, maybe mac a hoe, man, you know, get a number, just have a good time, right? That guy I'm cool, have no problem with, right? But then all of a sudden I start noticing you over the next couple of months. You start blowing up. You start swelling up. And I know what a guy looks like on steroids because I sell steroids. So I've watched all these guys I sell steroids to start to blow up. Now the steroids gives them a false sense of bravado and toughness. So now a guy like you who was just used to be there sipping a beer, kind of chilling in the bar, trying to mack a girl here and there, he's walking around the club like acting tough, talking to his boy. He's tough. He's like smacking his boy in the hip, being rowdy and loud, talking like he's a tough guy. And I'm thinking, mother effer, you ain't no tough guy. Mother effer, you just a freaking. He was a normal Joe.
You're on trend, buddy. Calm down.
Yeah, now you're on trend, and you think you're a tough guy. You're walking through the crowd like everybody should part ways. Mother effer, I'm the wrong mother effer to be doing that with while I'm here because you're the guy I'm going to get. So what I might not even start with them, but if they bother, because a lot of them knew who I was, and they'd kind of avoid me. It's not always though, and sometimes they're just stupid, you know, because the steroids make them dumb. But they'd start with my boy or something, you know what I'm saying? And I'd say, oh, this guy freaking bumped into you and freaking spilled your drink and it got tough with you. I don't know. So I'll walk by him and act like I'm just walking through the crowd and I knock his drink out of his hand. Hey, what's up, man? My bad. Or why do I say nothing? I just like, what's up? And the guy might, most of the time, they'd be like, oh, man, my bad, big dog. You know what I'm saying? My bad. And I'd be like, oh, my bad. And let me buy you a drink, man. Sorry about that, whatever. Because he was, you know, he said, okay. Right. But the ones would be like, what's up, man? What's your problem, man? No, tough talk. I mean, I'll show you my, and I just freaking knock him out. I wouldn't even wait. I just knock him out. Boom. And I'd be like, that's my problem. You're not tough, mother effer. The steroids don't make you tough. And I tell his boys, peel him up. We'll finish this outside. And the guy gets peeled off. And that's right there. You always know. Every time it's going through their mind, they're going, maybe I'm not as tough as I thought I was because that dude just freaking knocked me for a loop. I don't even remember.
You humbled him real quick.
Right, exactly. So, and the bouncers will peel him up and take him, throw him off. So that, like bullies, that's the kind of guy I would go after because I would deflate them. And I'm not joking, man. Like,
how many people you think you knocked out, man?
I don't know, man. Like I counted into like 30 at some point, but probably close to 50. I mean, and I don't like to call that a sucker punch either because if a guy barks at you tough talking and you freaking knock him out with the first punch, that's not a sucker punch.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
I
let him wait. If the guy goes, no, what the fuck's your problem, man? That's it.
That's your point right there. Like, what do you want to get hit first?
I'm not gonna wait for this mother effer to hit me.
Yeah, no.
I'm not waiting for this guy to sucker punch me. What's
Yeah,
your
I
problem?
like
Bang!
MAFIA.
It hit me. You know, a couple of them did. Like, what's your problem? Bang! And I freaking wham! And just let them have it. But most of the time, I would just say, my problem is you're a pussy and you're pretending to be tough. And I knock them out. That went around the club. Like, everybody knew me from that. Like, they called me Sandman in the nightclubs and stuff. So a lot of people knew who I was. But as far as like mob stuff goes, that slowly made its way back to the mob guys. I had cousins. I had cousins that were in the nightclubs too. They're real pussies though. Most of them are straight up like, you know, real passive, like pretty boys who wear a suit. You know what I mean? They didn't fight nobody. You know what I'm saying? They were not. And that's why they liked me too, because now having me on their side in the club was like, you know what I'm saying? They had their own little pit bull. And then a few times I had to save their asses too. And they got back to their uncles and dads because they tell them this freaking Alonzo freaking smashed somebody in the club again last night. But so now I'm going around, you know, in the market, and I'm going to the different headquarters. I'm going to the track. I'm going to, and all these people hear these things, so they just think I'm a freaking lunatic, man. They walk on eggs. I'm not a lunatic. In fact, I was a weirdo. I like to read books, man. You know, I'm an author now. I've written 10 novels, and I was always reading and stuff. I'd walk up to the track reading a book. What's up, fellas? And like.
So you've always had like a passion for writing and reading and all that type of shit?
Yeah. And they'd see me walk up with a book and be like, is this mother effer really reading a book right now? I mean, like, he's just for crazy ass gunner. He's over here reading a book. I'm like, yeah, man, I like to read. It's a weird mother effer. So anyway.
So what were the charges that actually gave you time?
Drugs. I got involved in drugs. On my own.
Doing them or selling?
Doing them. No.
Okay.
Doing them. I broke this. There was a series of events. I like pills that led to H, then clean for 5 years, and then pills that led to H, and then clean for 3 years. Up. And so my whole 20s, I was up and down, but mostly clean. But when I was not clean, I was a freaking animal. And I'll get into that. And that's what led me to 13 to 50 years in prison. And so I'll share the whole story. And then we can talk about prison too.
All right. Yeah. So we're definitely going to have him on for a couple parts. He's got a crazy story, man. I know you have a YouTube channel. I just saw you flash a book. How do people find you on YouTube, and how can they buy the book? So
my YouTube channel is Gunner Detroit. So it's just Gunner Detroit. And I do a show that's, I basically tell a lot of these stories. I haven't really shared any stories here, but just kind of my story, but I share a lot of crazy ass stories from my life, previous life, some prison stories. And then I interview some guests, ex-gangsters, celebrities. I've had some pretty good celebrities on my show. And anyway, so that's what I do there. And then my website is Gunner Detroit. So this is what you do. If you go to gunnerdetroit.com, it has everything I do there. I got a radio show every Friday night on 19th Superstation. And then I have my YouTube channel. Then I have my books. I have art. I own Art Thing Apparel. So it's kind of a cool vibe.
That's what's up.
Yeah, it has everybody. It has your city on the back. So whatever your city is, it's like mine says Detroit because I'm from Detroit, but yours might say, Tampa. You're from Texas.
No, I'm from Tampa, Florida, man.
So yours would say Tampa Art Thing. So Tampa has a mob family history too, by the way.
Yeah.
And so we have all kinds of stuff: tracksuits, jackets, leathers, everything. Yeah, so that's it. So Gunner Detroit, ourthingapparel.com is my clothing, and my books, To Be a King, Volume 1 and 2. By the way, this is the very first edition of the very first volume. This is my first one I ever got, man. It's crazy. But it's called To Be a King. It's about a fictional Detroit Mafia family, not a real one, but just kind of, there are things that are inspired by real things. You just have to read it. But it's got its perfect 5-star reviews, and a lot of them. And people are comparing it to The Godfather, saying this is the next Godfather. So if you like a good, like old school, big romantic mafia story, check it out. You like it. And then next time.
And I'll put the links to his YouTube channel, his book, and all your stuff in the description of the video. So that way they can find you pretty easy.
Yeah. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Man. And I appreciate you coming on the channel and sharing your story, man. I can't wait to have you on again to, do part 2 or 3 or who knows. So I appreciate it, bro.
I got some good prison stories and some crazy stuff to share. So I'll think of some good ones. And then when we come back on, I'll let you know.
All right, bet that up, bro. Hey, if you're new though and you're tuning in, man, hit that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and drop a comment. And with that is DOC TV, and we're out.